Hey guys, I'm Elegant and welcome to the weekly Pokevlog. So, Mr. XY was lying! What a surprise. The things he posted were fake because his only support was his trailer that he said was going to come out this week, and it didn't do, and so there's no trailer with the pre-evolutions of Pinsir or Heracross, and so we can only say that everything else he posted was fake, because it didn't seem quite legitimate anyway, because it was the whole Pokedex list. So we're back to only knowing 6 of the Pokemon from Pokemon X and Y, and only having speculation to go off, because Korokoro has once again let us down, knowing more information about Pokemon X and Y from Korokoro this month, so hopefully next month we'll actually have something, because we're hoping this month we'll get something, because we haven't had any new information in a while. Of course we don't though, but what it did give us some information on is a new game which is called Pokemon Rumble U. So this is a Wii U version of Pokemon Rumble / Pokemon Rumble Blast, so there'll be a trailer linked to that in the sidebars, a bit of information as well. It's not too much to talk about at the moment, so I will talk about it in a future vlog if anything comes up, but since it's just a carry-on of some older games on the Wii U, there's really not much to mention about it. So since there's no information to talk about this week, and in the American / English dub of the Pokemon anime, Ash is currently competing in the Pokemon League, I thought I'd do a vlog on the Pokemon League and the past history and just generally the Pokemon League. So the Pokemon League is the pinnacle for any Pokemon trainer's journey, and there's like a tournament and a competition in each of the regions apart from the first 2 regions which are sort of joined together. So Johto and Kanto, they have their own one, which is the Indigo League, that's in the Indigo Plateau. The Hoenn League has the Evergrande City, and the Sinnoh League has the Lily of the Valley Islands, and the Pokemon League for Unova is actually placed in Virtual City, where Ash is at the moment. So the Pokemon League is sort of the battler's claim to fame, and it's the way they become famous, like I said, and it's just the ultimate, what the aim is during gym battles and everything. What they consist of in the games is the Elite Four and the Champion. So you go through the Elite Four and then you battle the Champion, and then once you've won all that, you become the Champion yourself. But in the anime it's a little bit different. You first have a tournament where all the trainers, the regular old trainers who won 8 gym badges, battle out to see who's the best, and then they get a champion of the tournament, and the champion of the tournament is then able to, or eligible to, go and battle the Elite Four, and then battle the champion, and then become the champion themselves, so it's a bit more long-winded, but you sort of get the opportunity to become famous and the best known for winning the tournament itself, rather than having to be the champion themselves. So in a way it is a little bit easier. So like I said, you need all 8 gym badges to get into the Pokemon League in the games, but in the anime it's not so straightforward as that. You can actually get a variation of gym badges. There's not just 8 gym badges you can get, because there's several Pokemon Leagues. People have got in with gym badges that Ash doesn't have, because Ash has the main 8 gym badges from the games. So that's quite interesting. There's more gyms than actually gym badges that are required, which is probably a good thing, because you might not be able to beat a certain gym. But also in the anime, specifically episode 56, the Ultimate Test, you have to take a certification test to get into the Pokemon League. So getting all 8 gym badges isn't the only way to get into it. You can do this test. Also, there is a school called Pokemon Tech or Pokemon Technical, which when you graduate from, you actually can get into the Pokemon League as well. So there's a few different ways in the anime to get into the Pokemon League, not just the 8 gym badges like in the games, which I thought was an interesting thing. So the Pokemon League is actually run by a man named Charles Goodshire, and he is sort of appears in every single Pokemon League and Pokemon Challenge, every season and every region. So he's a pretty interesting character. He kind of looks like a short hobo guy, but he's actually quite nice, because if you've seen the first ever Indigo League, when Ash participates in it, Ash tries to get into the line of the parade with carrying the flame, carrying the flame like the Olympic torch, but Officer Jenny pushes him out. But then Charles Goodwin, because he's a Goodwin, he actually lets Ash in and carry the torch, which is a nice thing for him to do, I guess. But the ceremony is usually begun by this parade, or the carrying of the flame to light the big flame, and this flame is apparently a Moltres flame, or a flame from Moltres, which is a legendary Pokemon from the first generation, which is quite interesting, because right through the generations they have the flame of Moltres. As you'll see, there's certain animation style to this flame, and in Generation 1 it was sort of the same of the Pokemon Fire move animations, but as the animation progressed for fire moves, the Olympic or the Pokemon League flame actually stayed the same. So that's a quite interesting, nice thing that they kept with consistency. That the actual the Olympic slash Pokemon League flame keeps the same right the way through and looks a bit different from the Fire Blast and whatever. So I thought it was a nice additional thing. So as we all know, it's always been Ash's dream to compete in the Pokemon League, specifically in the Indigo League when he was growing up as a little kid because he grew up in Kanto. And so you'll notice Ash's cap has a little L on it in the first 2 generations going through Johto and Kanto. And this cap is apparently a Pokemon League Expo cap, which he got with he's got from sending postcards in, apparently 1 million postcards, of course not 1 million, but that's how he phrased it, postcards into the Pokemon League to get this cap. Misty apparently also wanted to get this cap, but unfortunately she didn't get it herself. So the Orange League is a little bit different from the other Pokemon Leagues, and isn't officially as contemporary as the other Pokemon League. It's not quite the same, and it only has 4 gym badges, which is required to go and do it. But then you have one champion, which you have to be, who has a particularly annoying setup of Pokemon. He has a Ditto and a Dragonite. I'm not going to go into that, but Ash actually won this one. It's the only one Ash has ever won. Unfortunately, though, it isn't actually technically a proper tournament, and there wasn't an Elite Four to this specific league, and unfortunately Ash won a league that wasn't technically a league. It's quite a bit of a controversy about what it is, but since it isn't in games, it doesn't have Elite Four, we can only say it isn't a Pokemon League, it's only a competition. So since the Pokemon League is the pinnacle for any Pokemon trainer, it's sort of the pinnacle of the anime, or the series part of the anime, and it's where all the friends from you've met from the region reunite in the anime, like Gary in the first generation, Paul and Sinnoh, the 4th generation. So yeah, you get all the reuniting of friends, and Ash's main rival as well. But every single Pokemon League, Ash always beats his rival, but always loses the league, other than the Orange League, because the Orange League was a bit different. I'm not sure with Unova, because I haven't watched that, so I'm not spoiling it, but for all the previous generations, that's what happened. He actually came closest to victory in the Sinnoh League, where I think he was in the top 4. In the Hoenn and Johto League, he was in the top 8, and in the Indigo League, his first one, he was in the top 16, which is pretty impressive for his first try. So they actually include a lot of things about the characters from the characters past, and a bit more depth into characters usually in the Pokemon League. And that was more so in the earlier generations, like the Indigo, the Johto, and the Hoenn regions. They sort of started to take that a little bit in Sinnoh, and they really murdered that and axed that in Unova, but I'm not going to go into that. But I'm going to go into the actual things they've revealed. So things like Gary's real starter in the either original or the second series of Pokemon, so the Indigo League the first time or the second time, they actually said that Gary's starter was Squirtle, and not Eevee, which it was quite strange because Misty and Brock mentioned his Blastoise being his starter that Gary Oak's grandfather, Professor Oak, actually gave to him. And also, he had a little bit of a scene with Ash and Gary when they were younger, just before starting their Pokemon journeys. Actually went fishing, and they caught a old rusty Pokeball together in the same hook when they were competing, and they pulled apart because they were trying to both compete against each other, and each got one half of it, and this is sort of their symbol of their rivalry but friendship, because Ash got the white bottom half and Gary got the red top half, and they both kept this right the way through to the first Pokemon League, or the second Pokemon League as well. I'm not quite sure where it turned up, but after that it wasn't really shown, but that was their symbol of their friendship and rivalry. So that's it for the Pokemon League, so let's move on to question of the week. So a lot of people think the Pokemon series is going downhill, and specifically the Pokemon League every generation is getting decreasingly as good as the previous one. Now, my personal opinion on this is that I did love the first generation, the second generation, the third generation. The fourth generation was alright, but for all different reasons. So I'm asking you, what do you think about this? Do you think they are degrading? The fifth generation with Unova, I must say it was quite bad, or as far as I've seen it, it's quite bad. And I've heard a lot of bad things about it, but it gets better after it. Hopefully, it does anyway. I think the first generation was obviously probably the best one because it was the first one, it was the whole aim of the series, and Ash got there. Second series was actually really good as well because you got Gary and Ash now stronger and battling against each other, and you had a real like fighting chance this time. The Horn region was a little bit different. They actually reintroduced the carrying of the flame because they didn't do that with the second generation, I don't think. So they carried the flames of that, and they had a bit of more opening ceremony than they did in the Johto one. So I thought that was a good thing that they brought back. I don't think there was too much interest in the battling like in the second generation. The fourth generation, I don't think they did too much with the opening ceremony, which was a bit disappointing. But they did a lot with the battling, and there was a lot of techniques that was used that are actually used on Wi-Fi battling, and it was very clever what they did with a lot of the battling, which I did like. So I thought that was the actual pinnacle of the Sinnoh series. I thought it was one of the best parts of it. It was much better than the rest of it. But the Unova region, I'm sorry, but I didn't like it so much. But anyway, tell me what you think down below. So thank you for watching. I'll see you next week.